Hello again, Steve here with a few comments once again, and I've done a few videos on this before, but it's customer service because I don't know, it's so important, but we don't have to call it customer service. We could call it, I don't know, the wish that we might have that people deal with us in some way. We might want to get dates at times. We might want to find friendships. We might want to have somebody buy whatever it is we're selling, or we might want to get a job or get a promotion within our organization or whatever. And the better we are at dealing with others in that they have a positive experience with us, I don't know, it just makes sense that the better off we're going to be. I want to relay a couple of stories to demonstrate, hopefully, how I see this playing out. Some of you know that I like to go on epic walks, and I'm planning another one for this summer to around down the Appalachian Trail, which is going to be about a 3,500 kilometer walk. And so I want to start off with an upgrade to my shoes. Of course, the last ones that I wore are not appropriate for that. So I wanted to, with research and so on, I realized that trail runners are probably what I want. These are running shoes that are built a little bit stronger on the sole for trails. But I got a very odd foot. My foot is, and I did a video. You can look at my Appalachian Trail Runners a few videos back on this series. You'll actually find an example of what I show there. But I had this in mind. If only I could find the ideal shoe that would actually fit my feet and would be comfortable to walk in. Wouldn't that be great? Somebody told me about this place, and I don't mind having a shout out to it. It's called Brain Sport here in Saskatoon, and it's a little bit off the beaten track off of Broadway there. And somebody had recently bought something there, and they recommended it, so I went in there. And as soon as I went in there, you know the ways a lot of times you go into a store and somebody comes up and says, "Hey, can I help you?" But it sounds like kind of a pestering. Like you don't really want them to talk to you. It's like, "Hey, can you let me look around for a bit at least?" But this guy, he did a similar thing, but he did it in a way that was friendly. Like it was something along the lines of, "If there's anything I can help you with, let me know." And he had a smile on his face. He was very amicable and so on. That was a positive thing. It wasn't just, I'm going to make sure I'm going to watch you every minute. And then I did eventually go back to when I asked him a few questions about, and I told him what I was looking for. I told him what I was doing. And rather than just run off and just, "Oh, you need this, you need this, you need this," he actually listened to me. We had a chat for a while, and he was interested in what I had done and the walk that I had been on from coast to coast before and the Appalachian Trail. And he talked about a guy who had come through there, a Fast Eddie, who I had met on my last walk, and we knew each other, and he knew Fast Eddie, I knew Fast Eddie. So we had a connection, a human connection there. And not only that, when I finally did tell him what I was looking for, he really went to work. He went to work to help me with undivided attention. I mean, in and out of the back. You know the way those stores, they got a few samples on the wall, and then they got the back, right? "Oh, I'll get you that size," and run in. And he brought out, like, he had a whole collection just lined up on the floor there, with all this variety. And then finally, when he was starting to he looked at my feet. He had this examiner. He could examine my feet and the length and all this. And he said, "I've got something for you." And he ran back and he brought out these ultra timp shoes, which have that really, really wide front that I showed you before on that video. I tried those on. They were amazing. And he actually relayed to me that he has used them, and he went on a 100-mile run, can you believe it or not, with those shoes, and they were fantastic for him. So I felt to the point where I really had to buy. I mean, it was just such amazing service. And he told me, "Look, if you have any trouble with them, come on back and we'll do what we can to help." And all those hallmarks of just a friendly, no pressure, helpful way of going. It was fantastic customer service. Compare that to a few nights ago. I went to this Irish pub here in town with family, and the waitress there was, I'm not going to say she was aware of herself being rude, but she didn't really belong in that job as a waitress. I mean, terse would hardly describe it. I mean, I think my son had asked for a menu or something like that, and I didn't quite hear what he said or whatever. So I asked her, "Do you have any menus?" And she just shot back at me. It was something like, "What did he just ask for?" Like, what? you know? And the whole interaction with her was like that. It was like you'd ask her a question and she'd keep walking and stuff like that. And I rarely do this. I'm actually a big tipper. I like to tip. And, my wife gives me shit all the time for, throwing away money kind of thing. But I like to tip. I tip well. And I've rarely done this. I just said to myself, I'm not tipping this woman. I'm sorry. I'm just not tipping. If you're going to be rude, incredibly rude, I'm just not going to it. I mean, what's the point? The point is, the point of tipping is it's supposed to be it's supposed to be a check mark for merit. It's supposed to help those out who are doing well, essentially. And she wasn't. I mean, if she wasn't aware of it, I really feel bad for her, because it's really going to affect her career, what she's doing. But if she's aware of it, I mean, my God, that's terrible. So and this brings up a presentation that I'm going to be doing in a little over a week on membership in a club that I go to, that I help build back up. Basically, I've done it a couple of times. This is a Toastmasters club which was just completely floundering, and now it's doing well through I wouldn't call it customer service, but essentially that's what it is. Because I see this sentiment often. I go to these conferences, and one of the biggest talks that people have, the biggest issues they have within their clubs, is membership. Not enough members, dwindling membership, and so on. And I hear people stand up and, I'm so and so from whatever club, and we need members. And I'm thinking, well, do you really? Like, do you really want members, or are you just saying so? And this is what often happens: is we say we want something. We say we want customers. We say we want the data, whatever. But do we really by our actions? Because are we taking the time to figure out what it is that they want? Right? This so often happens. In fact, I've been asked a number of times to coach various different clubs, because that's what they do, is coach it. If a club is kind of dwindling, they ask somebody who's a bit more experienced, hey, can you come in, help this club get their act together, and therefore they'll grow again. This one club, the first time I did it, I came up with this idea, and I've done it a couple of times, which is, before I just agree, I go out and visit the club, talk to them and say, look, are you guys happy with where you are? And the answer is no. Would you like to grow? And the answer is yes. All right. Are you willing to change what you're doing? And not so quick of an answer. Yeah, sort of. It depends, they say. It depends. Well, I'd say, and then I bring up the old saying, I forget who it once said, the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing and expecting different results. And they agree. So what I get them to agree to is, are you willing to take recommendations and implement changes in spite of whether you like it or not? And I remember with this first one I ever did, it was like, no, actually, because it was basically that club was meeting on a Saturday once a month. First of all, very few people want to go to a club Saturday morning. Evenings is the way to go. Secondly, most people who join, they want an exercise of getting more confident. And once a month is not enough. And furthermore, not everybody can make every meeting. So imagine if you're a new member and you join a club like that, you meet once a month and you can't make the meeting. You don't have a meeting for 2 months. So I said, and this is not working. I mean, this has got to change. And nobody's showing up, like you haven't had a new member in a year. So how about we meet every 2 weeks? If I got to meet more often, I won't come back. Okay, so what you're saying is you don't want to change. So what you're really saying then is, and I was a little bit firm. I say, okay, if you don't want to change, then you really don't want new members, actually. Because if you're saying that you have to change in order to get different results, but you're not willing to change, and you're not willing to get different results. Yeah, we could probably do a little bit. So anyway, so they agreed to it. They agreed to change, meet every 2 weeks. I come back the next week, and they agreed to go back to once a month. So I said, okay, fine, fair enough. You know what? You guys asked me. This is a voluntary thing. I don't need to help you out. And of course, the club is completely evaporated. It's gone long ago. Not surprising. And but those that are willing to change in such a way that we're no longer just talking about us. Because imagine if you walk into a store and or you go out on a date and all that person does is just talk about themselves. No interest in you whatsoever. How interesting is that? Not very interesting, right? If you go into a store and all they're talking about is themselves and their great products and everything, and there's no real inquiry of what's going on. Same thing happens in a Toastmasters club. People walk in there off the street. They're coming in there for reasons. That's what I tell people. They're coming in there for a reason. They're coming in there for a reason. And if we don't find out what that reason is, then how can we address it? How can we be of service to it? If we don't ask the people we're going on dates with what's important in their life, how the heck can we be of any sort of part of that if we're only just talking about ourselves? If people come into our businesses, if people interview us for a job and all we're talking about is ourselves, all we're doing is answering questions rather than asking them, what do you want? Imagine that. Imagine what an employer, a potential employer, would think. I'm talking about a free market employer, not some government thing probably, but that even could be the case. Where the person being interviewed, who's coming in there, actually turns the table once in a while, respectfully, and asks them what do they want? And make the case that they could very likely fill that need. Because they're wanting people for a reason, and sometimes we don't know exactly what that reason is. They're asking us questions to try to weed us out of a big pot of potential employees that they have. How many of those potential employees do anything but answer the questions as best they can? How many of them ask the questioner, what is it you guys want? What is the most important thing in your organization? When you come to work, what bugs you? And what bugs the people in your organization? Where are the challenges? And how can I be of assistance to that? Or here's what I have experienced that can maybe fill those needs. That to me is real customer service, because service is being there at this, being a servant of the one who's looking for answers. And the more we can put ourselves in that mindset when we're wishing to have relationships, either personal or professional, with people, the more often we can do that, the more often we're going to be successful. Sure, it can't just be completely one-sided, but we have to make that effort, I think. And with that effort, we're going to have much greater success in our customer service, in our relationships, in our dating processes, in our clubs, in our job interviews, and so on. And life in general, because life in general, our quality of life so much comes through the involvement of other people, doesn't it? Steve here, great chatting. Talk again soon. Bye for now.